This is an open letter to Mr. Elon Musk. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is fine. Here's the thing. I noticed you have some, some concerns with regards to illegal immigrants, and not being vetted, and your concern is they're not vetted, and let's see, which vetting is better. Yes, of course, vetting is always better than not vetting. But however, I thought I'd mention a few things here to see if if I can help put your mind at ease a little with regards to illegal immigrants and people who we don't know. Here's the thing. First thing, these folks who are coming across the border, whether legal, illegal, begging to be part of the empire, uh, begging to be admitted into the heart of the empire, these people are not lazy. You can be sure of that. They're not here for a free ride. I can assure you, because the lazy people don't go through this fucking journey of a lot of luck and a lot of hope and a lot of sweat and tears, and wishing for something that has a very little chance of achieving, actually getting there alive, so may have a chance of achieving some sort of residence in Uncle Sam's land, the heart of the empire. So getting there, it's a difficult task. Lazy people don't want to move. You can be assured that the people who come, however, whether legal or illegal, even the illegals more, they are not lazy. Legals may be a little lazy, but illegals, I can assure you, are not lazy, because the cumbersome path of getting in an illegal way to Uncle Sam's land is such a difficult task that lazy people. Do you know any lazy people who are, you know, who are overjoyed in undertaking a difficult task? I don't know any. So one thing you can be sure: these people are not lazy. Especially those who come illegally are not lazy. That's one. Now, anecdotally, see a video here or you see a video there. I'm not talking anecdotal. I'm talking, you know, logic. Logically, they can't be lazy. Two, criminals. Okay. If we say there is some kind of statistics with regards to this, that's of 0.01% of the population may have some criminal tendencies. I guess there must be such statistics. On any normal population, in any normal population, a percentage are criminals, have criminal tendencies. Okay. So if you import 10 million people just right out of the bag, unknown entities, if you import 10 million people, 0.01% of them, if they are criminal, 0.01% of 10 million is 100,000. If you have that proportionality of criminality in your own population, then I guess you're okay with that same proportionality of criminality in a population that you import. You see, it's something that can't be changed. The population that you import, and besides, successful criminals, they got their criminal gang going in their own home country. Why would they want to, go immigrate? Successful criminals, again, if they have become criminals in their own homeland and they got it set up, they wouldn't want to move. They wouldn't want to. How many mafia families do you know who, opened up shop in New York? Italian mafia families. How many of them do you know who opened shop in New York as soon as they were trying to run and open shop in New York? Almost none of them. Successful criminal activity in Italy stayed in Italy. Those who came to the United States, those Italians who did come to the United States, they formed their own gangs because, the mindset is still that mindset. There weren't connections, there weren't branches of the old mafia, Italian mafia in New York or, Pennsylvania or anywhere else. It was brand new families formed organically out of the Italian population, out of Irish population, out of Puerto Rican population, out of any population. So believe me, most of these people are not criminal. The percentage of criminality amongst these immigrants, illegals, especially, are going to be very low percentage. If there is a percentage, you can be sure that there is less criminals in between these groups than any average population has. Because again, criminals, when they have their home base and they're set up and they're good, they don't want to move. Who wants to move? That's why all these Hollywood people keep saying that if this is elected or if that law is enforced, we are going to move out. Why would they move out? It's a successful actor in Hollywood. Why the fuck would they want to move out and go and live in Guatemala? You see what I'm saying? So that's not going to happen. Same thing with criminals. If they got their setup, they don't need to branch out into a different country. On top of all this, here's the thing, what apparently you guys don't get, you, Mr. Musk, I'm sure you don't get it because you were born in a very police state. And then you moved into a very police state. South Africa, in order for the minority to rule the majority, it has to be a very police state. Just like, Israel is. You have, people walking around, even in civilian clothes, they're walking with their M16s. Just normal. It's like, here's my M16 and here is my bag of chips. So it's normal because it's a police state. Because they have to be, because they're trying to, the minority is trying to enforce their will down the throat of a majority. South Africa was this, Israel is like this, and to a very extent, Uncle Sam's managers have created a very strong police state. I say this because I'm telling you that most of the criminals in the world, the one country they're afraid of is the United States, because it's a very police state. Very police state. It's very policed. So believe me, those criminals they got it good at home. They don't want to come to you because, first criminals don't move once their setup is set up. Two, they don't want to move into a police state such as the state that Uncle Sam's managers have put together, strongly policed. So they stay at home. They don't want to bother. And believe me, this MS-13 and MS-18 and 17 and 16 and 14 and 13, these gangs were not formed in El Salvador or Nicaragua or Honduras. They were formed in Los Angeles. You see, you got to deal with the police state. The underclass have to come up with their own network of helping each other, and these networks eventually become gangs. Anyway, my point is this, that first, they're not lazy. We figured that out. Second, they're not, successful criminals. And even if the few that are, I'm sure the percentage of criminals in these highly motivated population are going to be less than the percentage of criminals in the normal population. And in general, criminals don't move once they got it someplace made. Okay. And another argument, the third argument with regards to these criminals is that why do you want to separate the wheat from the chaff? Why do you want to, let's be fair. Even if you get some criminals, I mean, it's like, the Pink Floyd song says, Mr. Roger Waters, how can you have your pudding if you don't eat your meat? This is it. You can't say, no, no, criminals stay home. We only want your engineers and your doctors. Is that fair to them? It's like Honduras has got 2.5 doctors, and you're opening door for the 2.5 doctors, not the 2,500, you know, tomato pickers. I mean, seriously, it's sort of like, we don't want their criminals. Is that fair to them? You want only their doctors? And do you think you can run a sane planet if you discriminate so much between one nation and another? For example, when the Iranian embassy was bombed, you didn't hear a peep out of Paris, London, or New York. But then when those motherfuckers did something to these motherfuckers, everybody was screaming. It's sort of like, what the fuck? You you don't see the action, but you hold the reaction at fault. Okay, this is like a kid going and slapping a grandmother, and then grandmother slapping the kid, and then everybody sees the grandmother slapped, and nobody blames the kid. Sort of like, no, 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 the kid had the right to slap her, or we didn't see her slapping, or we were not going to mention the kid slapping the grandmother just right out of the blue. But then when the grandmother slaps back, you blame the grandmother. I'm not sure where we're going with this. I mean, anyway, my point is this. You have to take some of their criminals. You're separating your wheat and the chaff, and you want just the wheat, keep the chaff. Is that fair to them? Anyway, if you're not, what I'm trying to say when I brought up the situation with, Israelis hitting the Iranian embassy in Syria, is because you can't keep discriminating and thinking that you're going to hold it steady. If in South Africa, the reason was never steady because they were discriminating. When there is discrimination going on, racism is a kind of discrimination. When it's going on, then force needs to be applied, because it's an unnatural way of doing things. Discrimination is an unnatural way of interfering in the work of nature. So you have to apply force. Discrimination, if somebody qualifies as a human being and was born in that land, that person should qualify to be part of any state you want to call it. You want to call it Israel, fine. You want to call it Palestine, fine. Any state that is formed over there has to include that guy just because that guy was born in that fucking land. You can't just separate them because they have a little more pigmentation. Salute. This is what I'm saying. You can't, just like you can't discriminate over there, you can't discriminate and say we want only the doctors and the engineers and not the blue collar workers because we have higher standards. Then what do you think is going to happen over there? More and more their doctors are going to come to you, and more they're going to be sick and destitute because all their educated population has moved into your population. Do you think that system is going to be stable? This is what I'm trying to say. A stable system has to be just. An unjust system is never stable. That's why Israel has been fighting for 75 years, because a bunch of Europeans decided to settle in Asia and control. Screw the settling. Okay, settling is fine, but settling and becoming a settler today and then tomorrow declaring that I am going to be the mayor of this town, that is unacceptable. You're a settler. You can't be the mayor of the town after He can't get off the ship and become the mayor. Anyway, and okay, and so not lazy. Most of them are not criminal. The proportionality of criminals in these illegal aliens are going to be much less than an average population. That's that. Not lazy, not criminal, less criminal. I was in Norway and I thought at one time I thought let me go to the American embassy and talk to them, tell them my situation, maybe uh, you know maybe I can find the answer to my problem that I was having at that time. And so one day I just got up and I understood where it was, around which area in Oslo it was. Oslo. Anyway, I went there and somebody pointed out I was asking people. I didn't have GPS. There was no GPS at that time. So I was asking in the street, and eventually somebody says, "Yeah, you see that building over there? That's the U.S. Embassy." I said, "Okay." I looked from far. It didn't look friendly. You had these tight windows, the kind of windows that they put on prisons, because they're worried that if there is I'm sure this is the explanation, if there is an attack or an explosion or whatever it is, we need small windows, so if the glass breaks inward, there would be not much casualties because of that glass, and probably even that glass was shatterproof and this and that. But anyway, it looked scary. The American embassy in Norway looked scary. Very tight windows, small windows, and tightly wound, tightly wound. And I went closer and I passed by it on the other side of the street, and I kept on looking at it, and eventually I decided, you know what, I'm not going to go in. I'm just not going to risk it. This place is on a lockdown. It wasn't a lockdown, it was in the middle of the day, busy. Everybody was going about their business, but it looked like a prison. It looked like some place that if you go in, you might not come out. They may not dissolve you in acid like Saudi Arabians do, but you may not come out. They lock you up until they have the time to investigate. So I never went in. And I mean, once you hear about the Abu Ghraib and all the black sites, CIA black site in Jordan and Egypt and Poland, and then you hear about the Guantanamo still open, by the way, and a lot of these people haven't actually been proven in court that they have actually done anything wrong. They're still under investigation. The guy's in jail for 10, 20, 15 years and still under investigation. I heard on NPR that a group of unjustly imprisoned Iraqis of Abu Ghraib variety are bringing lawsuits against Uncle Sam's managers. No, no, not Uncle Sam's manager. Uncle Sam's managers doles these dirty jobs to private contractors. So our name wouldn't be soiled by any shit that these private contractors do. That's apparently the whole point. It's like we hire private contractors so not to soil our good name. Let the Egyptians beat the crap out of our suspects. Salute. Here's my thing. Why I brought this up. That's why do they build their embassies, Uncle Sam's managers? Why do they have to build their embassies so tightly wound and so protected? Here's the thing. Yes, there are dangers of shit happening. Then you have to ask yourself why. Why isn't, for example, Finland worried about shit happening to the Finnish embassy in, let's say, Uganda. Why aren't the Finnish worried? You know, why aren't the Hungarians worried about shit happening to their embassy in Indonesia? Well, because the, neither the Hungarians nor the Finnish, people of Finland, have their fingers up the ass of these countries. They don't have their fingers up their asses. They're not trying to overthrow governments, bring governments, elect governments, select governments, orchestrate a coup, have corporations go in and try to, take over more of resources. They're not doing any of that. They have some deals and their population are working their asses off to make their... They're not doing imperial things. Because Finland and Hungary and Switzerland and Serbia and Yugoslavia are not doing imperial things. They're not trying to screw anybody over. They don't want to have a finger in every pie. Wherever there is wealth, we need to have our finger in it. Literally. Because if you're not doing that, well, nobody's going to be, care whether you exist there or not. I mean, the guy from, Iraq, he doesn't care whether the embassy of Finland is there or not. But he's just been bombed by, London, Paris, and New York, and he may have a grudge against London, Paris, and New York. You see where I'm going with this? So let's put it this way: France in the 1950s and 60s, there were a lot of terrorist acts committed by the Algerians in France. Were committed. Okay, why was that? That was the end of a long period in which the French had their finger up the Algerians' ass. But you don't hear any new activity of Algerian terrorists in France, because the French have long pulled their finger out. They're not bothering the Algerians, and nobody in Algeria thinks bad of the French. Water under the bridge. The problem is that if you keep screwing people, that is when you have to worry about such thing as terrorists. Terrorists are people who, they feel they have run out of options because they are fighting a greater power, and they're powerless, so they do acts that, with their budget. Terrorists basically are armies with low budget. They don't have the funds to form their own army, so they fight dirty. The point is, if your system is somewhat just, if you treat other nations with respect and fairness, then you don't have to worry about terrorists, and you don't have to build embassies that look like Alcatraz, that look like maximum security prison. An embassy of Uncle Sam's managers, for example, in Cairo, I'm sure everywhere, including Cairo, including everywhere, Uncle Sam's embassies. I like you to take a look of their pictures. You can just Google them, Mr. Musk, and you can just Google it and take a look at different embassies of Uncle Sam around the world. It's the most defended, the most secure that you can make a building are these buildings, and I'm sure they are. But why? Why are so many people pissed off of the managers of Uncle Sam, that managers of Uncle Sam have to protect themselves so much against these pissed off motherfuckers? Why are they pissed off? People don't get up in the morning pissed off. People get pissed off when they come across discrimination, horror, you know, pain that has been inflicted, which they feel it was inflicted unjustly. You know, bombings that could have not happened if Uncle Sam's managers understood the idea that, hey, you don't live in their century, they don't live in your century, they live in a different century. First go visit the fucking place, then invade it. They didn't understand this much. Mr. George W. Bush had never left Uncle Sam's land for any considerable period of time into those shitholes. You actually invade places that you think you can make better, even though you haven't been there before in your life. Here's to sanity. You don't know their people. You don't know who they are, where they come from, but you think you have the God-given duty to make them look like you, whether it be in their economy, whether it be in their politics, whether it be in their how they govern themselves. You, pinkskins, have the right to tell people how to run themselves. Are you fucking kidding me? It's sort of like, I was thinking today, it's sort of like you like to sit in a chair and sleep in the bed. Why do you think you should, or you have the right to, or you should, or it's logical for you to try to teach a giraffe how to sit on a chair and sleep in the bed? Just a giraffe. Human beings are that different from each other. They're that different from each other. Especially different races, different cultures, different histories. They're very different. So this whole idea that they all should look like us, or if not, we're going to invade them and make them look like us. And that's a good enough reason to invading people if we think they're wrong and we're right. Here's the thing, Mr. Musk, the solution to terrorists is take your finger out of people's asses. Let the Chinese and the Taiwanese figure their own situation out. Be a mediator instead of a provider of arms. Let them figure it out. If you want to participate, you can participate as a mediator. But make sure Taiwan becomes part of China without bloodshed. That's the right way to go. It's an island. That's just like the Argentinians want Malvinas back. The Chinese want Taiwan back, and it's their choice. It's their island. What is being protected there? People's rights? People's rights? Care about people's rights? There are 110 million redskin Indians are 6 feet under. The whole population of one race was really close to wiped off totally. And you care about people? You tell me you care about people? Are you serious? In Vietnam, like just 50,000 our people died. It's like 10 million Vietnamese died, more. I don't have the numbers, but they're still washing out Agent Orange out of their DNA. 5 generations, 6 generations later. Are you serious, folks? 4 generations later. No, you don't care about people. You care about territory. You care about empire. You care about I have control over more territory. That makes me more powerful. That makes me more influential. That makes me, you know, higher in the social order. Supremacy, anyone? It doesn't go away. This worship of self apparently doesn't go away. Not at all. Worship of oneself, one's race, one's ethnicity, one's religion, this self-worship never ends. So the point is this: they are not, these immigrants, Mr. Musk, are not going to be especially the illegal ones are not going to be lazy. They're not going to be hard-ass successful criminals, because hard-ass successful criminals stay in their homeland because they're already set up with the judiciary and the police, and they already got their setup. They don't want to venture out. What's the, there's no profit. For many years, there is no profit in venturing out a criminal organization. Anyway, they're not going to be that. And they're not, and if you don't want terrorists, it's simple. Stop being supremacist. Stop thinking that you should be the one on top. Stop having wanting to have your finger in every pie. Stop thinking that you are the only solution to every problem. You're not. Africans want to live the African way. Asians want to live the Asian way. They look at their government in a very different, from a very different perspective than Americans look at their government. It's just facts. If anybody cares to read, they will understand that just democracy is not for everyone. Democracy isn't even for you. If democracy was even good for the pink skins, if democracy was good for the big pink skins, you wouldn't have had Bill Clinton, who couldn't keep his penis in his pants. You wouldn't have Nixon, who had psychological issues. You wouldn't have Kennedy, who he couldn't keep his penis in his pants. These are all boys. You wouldn't have recent ones either. The recent ones either, because none of these folks are men. They're all boys. None of them are actually thinkers. They're more doers than thinkers. You wouldn't have George W. Bush. These guys are all frat boys. Democracy doesn't even work for you. You keep choosing frat boys as your representatives, all the way up and down the food chain in politics. Frat boys become representatives because they enjoy crowds. They're extroverts. They like to shake 1,000 people's hand every day. They're really out there. They are full of energy. They're extroverts. They want to be worshipped. But are they wise enough? Nope. Most of them aren't. How many frat boys do you know who are wise? How many? Most of the leaders in a democracy, maybe they start very well. Maybe it was Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and a few other really nerdy, intelligent, intellectual people. Maybe they started it. But every time democracy ends with Caligula, every time democracy ends with a frat boy, what I say, it ends up having multiple frat boys at the high office, one after another. That's the end. The populace love frat boys. Common man is suspicious of intelligence. Common man is very suspicious of intelligence.